So you think you can cook? Well, let's see about that. So, in this video, I will show you how to cook curry that's actually vegan. And it's pretty cheap and it's pretty easy to do. Don't really have to think about it much. I make this often. And so, basically, 2 cans worth of chickpeas, some tomato paste, garlic, onion, curry powder and chili powder, some parsley, and rice. And that's it. Great. So, a big thing to make it in. You can make it in a pan or in a pot or whatever, but you know, the bigger it is, the better. That's what she said. Am I right, fellas? Am I right? So always the rule is, when in a recipe, like in this one, it says 2 cloves, you should add half of a whole garlic. Because you gotta adjust for the fact that Americans are usually the ones writing these recipes, and you know what they say about Americans. Usually, while doing these things, I'm watching something on Netflix or making my brain consume things so it doesn't have to face its own thoughts. But since the show this time is me, I would like to thank our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, for providing us with the opportunity to not play Raid Shadow Legends. Right, so the trick with chickpeas is that there's actually no trick. You get them with all this fluid and you can drain them, but the fluid is actually really good for making other things like vegan mayo or fake eggs. I'm usually saving this shit because it turns into something tasty later. Put in some salt and pepper. Oop. Cut some hair. Advice, never get hair in your food. Add some oil. And for like 3 to 5 minutes, you gotta basically cook them like on a pan. Блять, ёбаный в рот. Preferably remove any wine glasses in the area so that when the camera falls, you don't smash them. While you were setting up the camera, your onions and garlic was probably already hot for a while and it might be burning. You can start prepping the parsley. Probably don't want this shit, but if you really like parsley, you can add it. Right, so at this point I've burned it just a tiny little bit, but you can see it's brownish, so I should be considering adding the chickpeas now. Also the tomato paste. Use like half of a 500 gram jar, but this really depends on how tomatoey you want it to be. But with this I will also add 1 glass of water. So take your wine glass and add about that much. And now it should mix and you just add curry now. The recipe says to add a tablespoon, but really just kind of drop half the pack in and make it real orange, because if it doesn't taste like curry, it's not curry. And for those of you who like some spice in your life, add some chili powder, or if you're not a spice enjoyer, then add some paprika powder. And I think that I'm gonna add both. So now you should bring the pot to a simmer. Usually cook it on the biggest circle, but seems to be working fine on the medium one too. At this point you should already have started prepping your rice. Alright, as you can see, this bitch is simmering. When it's kinda like this, it's ideal, and you should have it simmering like this for about 20 minutes, but when it starts to simmer first, you should be adding the cilantro. Right, I am emptying the whole curry packet because it's curry. Alright, time for rice. So, some of you may ask, what's the trick to boiling rice? Well, to be honest, there's no trick. You just boil the rice and you pretend that the rice you'll boil is something you intended to make. Because no normal person will ever know whether the rice should be sticky or not sticky, or, you know, if it comes out sticky, you can tell them it has to be sticky. And they just don't know, because nobody actually knows how to cook rice. And if anybody tries to tell you otherwise, they're lying. But you do put rice in hot water. At least my girlfriend says as much. Although I read online that you can do it in cold water too. Again, it's all just a bunch of lies. It's a government conspiracy to make you boil water. Check if your curry is not sticking to the bottom. While recording, I love to sometimes grab a little snack, so I recommend you also go to your fridge and grab some sushi while you're waiting for the stuff to boil. So, when you're finished eating your sushi dinner, that's about the time you should consider taking the curry off. Because at this point, it's becoming like a more consistent mass. It's more of a saucy kind of consistence, and of course you can adjust it how you like. Add more water or more tomato sauce. Wow, this is great. Compliments to the chef. Блядь! So, now that the rice is cooked and drained, and the curry is in a, I just say good consistency, whatever you like, it's ready, right? Well, wrong, cause I was lying to you, and it's not as easy as it looks, because the full recipe involves another ingredient. Which I sometimes don't make, but when I'm feeling really fancy, I do make. So I'll just show you how to do it, in case you ever feel fancy like me. So you start by finding your girlfriend's recipe thing, and you find the recipe for vegan naan bread. So, you've never made bread, right? It's really hard to make bread. Bread is good. And you are bad. But actually, it's pretty easy. So 2 glasses of regular ass flour. You add 1 spoonful of baking powder, but not the little spoon, the big spoon. Come on. Yes. Half a teaspoon of salt, or a bit more if you're salty. 2 spoonfuls of olive oil. Alright, and now that you've returned, after charging your camera, to discover the spoon has sank. Fucking hell. You didn't see me adding the milk and water, but it's a quarter cup of milk, which in this case is vegan milk, and half a glass of water. And you gotta mix it up. There's no avoiding getting a bit nasty. Maybe a good idea to get some flour on your hands and start mixing it. This does look a bit too wet, so just don't be afraid to put some extra flour in so that changes consistency. It might get very stuck to your fingers, but don't worry, if you add just enough flour it will eventually get unstuck, and you gotta get it consistent. Don't be afraid to get right in there.
Come in!
That's what's up.
Stop! Sequel. Want to film it?
Yeah? Alright. Now that it's kind of like this, you see, I haven't washed my hands. It doesn't even stick, but it's not too floury either. The flour doesn't stick to my fingers. Just a tiny little bit it does. You take a bit of it. Some flour on the table, and you make it flat. Make it like a little pancake. And remember, gotta do this without oil. 2 minutes on each side, more or less. Alright. Well, it's pretty hard. Pretty crunchy. And that means that it's about ready. Right. So it's a bit crunchy now. As you can see, I ate a bunch of it, but now you got some bread. So another thing you can add to the bread is garlic stuff. It really is actually needed to seal the deal. So what you'll need is some margarine, some garlic, and some green onions. For the bonus round, just cut up some of the leek or green onion or whatever you want to call it. Cut up some garlic. And since I know you all have grandmas from the Soviet Union, you definitely have this thing, the garlic presser at home. Alternatively, you can just cut the garlic up. This is just the way to do it properly. Mix it all up. Realize that you need a bigger bowl for this probably. Mix it up comfortably. Even more margarine, because that's what it is basically. You're just making your own garlic spread. And now you can easily convert your basic bread into garlic bread. Yeah, actually for this 3 cloves is not nearly enough, so you might wanna add a bit more. So now that you got your garlic butter, what you want to do is just spread it. Alright, yours should be a bit bigger since I ate a bit of mine already. And you take the next one that you've cooked and you stack it on top. You will spread the butter in between every piece, and that way you will have fresh melted garlic butter in between your naan bread. 7 p.m.
Mm.
Spend half a day doing this shit.
Yes.
How does it make you feel?
Hungry.
Hungry for more?
Yeah. No, it's great. Especially because I made half of it.
Well, it's debatable.
No, you did really well. Every time it gets better. And later.